Hi, this is an informative video about Alumilite that I couldn't find the answers to on other people's videos on the web. I started this using Alumilite about 8 months ago, making pen blanks. And when I originally started, I was using a metal lathe. Not the best, but it worked. I'm going to say a little something about mold material. This one's a cutting board material. It's 3/8 inch thick. Kind of hard to get a number 6 screw in. That's HDPE, half-inch thick. You can buy on the internet for $8 a square foot. And the third one is what I'm pouring on now is melamine. I had a lot of trouble with melamine as mold material. The cutting board material's got kind of a crinkled finish on it. Not great, but it works. Here's after the Alumilite set for 24 hours. You can see it sucks moisture right out of the air, kind of like Gorilla Glue. Here's how it releases. This is off the HDPE. Comes off real easy, just like it's supposed to. This was no mold release. This is the cutting board material. It also releases. Of course, it's HDPE also. This is the melamine. This is the problem. It doesn't release. You have to use stoner mold release on it, or you're not going to get the Alumilite off. You're going to bust up your mold. You see how hard it is. You don't want this when you're trying to mold something. I'm not a real big fan of melamine unless you're going to use it in the cabinet. I don't really think melamine is a good product to make a mold out of. Go to eBay and buy HDPE or UHMW, or you can buy PVC in half-inch sheets. Makes life a lot easier. Why go through busting your molds every time you try to get them released? Now you can use stoner mold release, and it works. Just don't forget to put the mold release on. You might find this helpful. Use some plumber's putty to plug or any kind of putty, to plug the ends of your tubes when you're gluing them in. That way you keep the glue from going on the inside. Just need to do one end. It'll help you out a little bit. And after I plug them, I get a little drill bit and stick up the one end and compact it a little bit, make it a little round. It'll help. I use epoxy to glue my tubes in. I think it works a little better than CA glue. I'll show you why in a minute here. But I use epoxy and then coat the inside of the blank. I think you get better adhesion that way. I made this little insertion tool out of HDPE off a cutoff from my molds. Great for inserting the tube into the blank. Keeps your fingers clean from the glue. You can make it on a lathe. You know you got a lathe. Duh. Don't have to buy one. I'm going to show you why I'm not a big fan of CA glue when you put it on the tube before you put it in the blank. You know that the tube is 367 thousandths diameter. The hole in the blank is 375 thousandths. That means you have 8 thousandths difference between the tube and the blank. Not a lot of room to squeeze stuff through, and the blank works like a wiper and wipes the CA glue off the tube. I'll show you what I mean here. If you get a light and shine it through your blank, you can see where it deposited the dye. There's only about 20% coverage in there, not at the end where you started. Doesn't make for good adhesion. So make sure you put, if you're going to use CA glue, make sure you put it inside the blank and on the tube. That way you get a better adhesion. I don't think you got enough time though. After the glue sets, I cleaned the putty out with a little hand reamer before I trim the blanks. I don't use barrel trimmers either. If you have something cast in the blank, it has a tendency to rip it out, tear out the edges. A little reamer just cleans everything out perfect. If you have a little chunk out or ruin a blank or you don't like the blank, here's a little story for you. Put it in some acetone. Let it sit for 24 hours. After it sits, you'll be able to have your little tube back with no problem. Acetone will eat the glue away. Works on Gorilla Glue, epoxy, and CA glue. This is the way I've saved blanks. Okay, here's the tube coming out of the acetone after 24 hours. You can see how it takes everything off. It does reveal something though. You know, whenever you got to tighten your tailstock down because you got slippage, puts a burr on the end of the tube. Could be one of the causes for the tear out on the ends of your tubes when you're turning. See the little flare there at the end. Here's something. This first tube hasn't been used. You can see it's smooth. Now you can see the ones that I've cleaned up with acetone. You see they got a little bead on the end of them. That comes from smoking down your tailstock to keep the thing from spinning around. I think some of it has to do with the little bushings. They're not properly machined. Here's something that'll protect your workbench. It's a silicone baking mat. Nothing sticks to it. CA glue, Gorilla Glue, anything. Alumilite doesn't stick to it. Great stuff. These are my HDPE molds. The two on the right, bottom right, are the ones I use all the time. Makes 2 pens a piece. One's for long double barrel and one's for a single barrel. You don't really need the big ones unless you're going to go into production. So a 1 foot square piece of HDPE will do you fine. Here's a little trick. If you just poured something and you want to see what it's going to look like when you turn it, you don't want to waste a tube. Buy yourself a centering drill. Have a 60-degree taper on them. Same thing as your tailstock and live center. Should be anyway. They fit right in there and good friction. That way you don't have to waste a tube and you can see what your blank's going to look like. This blank was made out of acorn tops. Kind of different. Anyway, you see how the center drill works. Gives you good friction for turning. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye.